something that was that palate cleanser, and it was a cooking show, and some dude traveling and talking to a guy that I forget what kind of cook he was, but he had a pizza oven in there that he made bread with, and he used some kind of dung for the element to stoke the fire. Yeah. And what the man said was, he's like, yeah, but where we come from, we don't just have wood laying around. And he's like, this dung is so dense, it does that. I can get that. I can get why they go to
out of
that.
Necessity.
Yes.
Out of necessity. Eating a cheese is not necessarily a necessity. Yeah.
And especially when it's that rotten. It's like, okay, don't even need that, because the guy that was tasting that food, whatever it was he cooked in there, he's like, well, I don't taste anything that tastes what I would imagine dung to taste like. It just tastes like it's smoked. But what you're talking about, ugh, God.
So what about the new kind of it's been a craze for a couple of years, this idea that they can make a protein powder out of crickets?
I don't have a problem with that. I've eaten some like chocolate covered grasshoppers and stuff like that. Bugs are protein. That doesn't bother me.
But you'd have no problem if your normal shake was replaced with
was made out of insects. No, that wouldn't bother me because
no,
not me personally. No, I know other people probably would. It's one of those things where the further away you get from the actual product it is, the less it affects you. People go to the grocery store and they buy cuts of chicken. They're not worried about the chicken that's being murdered. Insects are even less important to people on top of that. You spray them, you kill them, you squat. You don't even see them half the time, and they're crushing them under your feet by accident.
Right.
No, I don't have a problem eating an insect. No. I can see insect farming as being a more lucrative, sustainable, better for the environment kind of thing. As long as people just get over the, ew, it's a bug.
And I think that's half of it. I think that we've conditioned ourselves to think of them as disgusting because they're bottom of the food chain,
like a pest. Yeah,
right. And they're out. A dung beetle is a dung beetle. You're going to go gross about it.
Yeah,
but the truth is, it could be something that could be, especially in an area. How long ago was it in these areas where these people were actually eating them, probably out of necessity?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I'm putting collagen in my diet now as a protein source. And collagen itself is basically just like boiled cow bone and hide. Yeah, exactly. And it actually has in the product like here's the cow, and all they're just is boiling down the parts. But as a powder that I mix in water or a shake, I don't even notice it. I don't even think about it.
Yeah, you're just far away enough from the source material that doesn't bother you. Yeah.
Do you think you could work? Could you work in a butcher shop and then still eat meat?
I think you would have to, because you would have to respect what you've done to that animal. I mean, that'd be the equivalent of I'm trying to think of something, where I create it, but I don't believe in it. So I work for a gasoline company, but I drive an electric car.
You mean political pundits?
Yeah. If you're going to create something, then you should at least respect it by enjoying it instead of making sure that just everybody else uses it and not me.
And I've wondered a lot of times about that. I could not work in a butcher shop. I just couldn't do it. It's not me. But then the funny thing is I do find it fascinating, the art of it. There's talking about all the streaming crap I'm watching these days.
Knowing how to cut and where to cut and all that.
There's actually on Hulu, there's a series where it's just a butcher shows you how to slaughter a cow, how to slaughter it, not to slaughter, but to cut, Yeah. And it's fascinating when you start hearing all these things we've heard terms for, the rump roast, and what they tell you that actually it is. I find that fascinating, and it's almost kind of a beautiful art. I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah.
Well, so
the way we name things is to get away from it. The fact that we call it rump roast instead of a pig's butt or whatever.
Right.
We're trying to, ribs instead of a pig's ribs. We're trying to separate ourselves from the thing that we're consuming instead of honoring the thing that we're consuming.
Have you guys ever considered having chickens?
I would not have a problem with chickens running in the backyard.
I wouldn't do it because I'm sick of animals shitting in my backyard.
Chris, there's a loose dog.
Is it one of yours?
No, there's a loose dog, but it's got a collar on like it got away from somebody.
Oh.
Is the owner out there?
Richard's looking out his window.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is the owner out there? Okay, sorry. My husband is like the dog whisperer. He finds lost dogs all the time and running around.
I mean, we call it pork instead of pig. We call it beef instead of cow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
we try to get away from what we're actually consuming.
So,
he's got the puppy dog. Oh,
yeah. Sweet
puppy dog. Who does he belong to? Let's bring him inside. Okay,
he's yours now.
I was going to say, there's dog number 5. So we've talked about the middle ground.
Guys, I'm gonna let my dogs outside.
Okay. Well,
we can talk.
I'll re-ask this when Richard comes back. So we've talked about the truth of what you would and wouldn't eat, things like that, foods that turn you off and disgust you. But whenever you start thinking of top 3 flavors that attract you, what are they?
Oh, see, because I like weird stuff. So, like, I like sea urchin because it's salty and fishy, and
well, that's it. I not so much the food, but the elements, the salt. What are those things that attract you to food?
Oh well, but again, because I can't smell. So, from however I understand it, taste is, think of it as your tongue. Mm-hmm. Flavor is your tongue plus your smell. Mm-hmm. So I don't get flavor; I get taste.
Okay.
So I get salty, sweet, bitter. Umami, all that kind of stuff. I like salty things because salt makes things taste more like itself, if that makes sense. That's how I've heard that explained one time on America's Test Kitchen. That's why you salt food, because salt makes stuff taste more like itself.
Right.
So I like really, but I also like to taste the salt. So I like really salty things. Mm-hmm. I like really sour. I like the extreme. So if it's sour, if it's bitter, if it's salty, you can throw those all together. Right. I want it. So I like dark chocolate with sea salt on it and caramel. So I want the bitter, I want the salty, and then I want the sweet of the caramel all together.
That's pretty much me. Is that it's, I like coffee, and when I drink coffee, I want it to be as dark as possible because I really want to taste that bitter element. To the slightly caramelized element of it too. Salt. If salt could have protein, I probably would just pour salt down my gut all day long because
this is something you ought to think about. I don't drink coffee because caffeine is for the weak, but you should put a pinch of salt in your coffee.
I am so. I'll try it one time for you.
Just try it one time, just a pinch.
But it's the same as with when I drink beer. Even if I go from and when I say Pilsner, I'm not going to drink an American Pilsner because they're shit. But if I drink a real Pilsner, I want the type like a Czech Pilsner where it's very bitter right away and then goes soft. Or if I'm going to drink something on the other end, I want an IPA that's very bitter because like you, I like the extreme. If it's going to be a flavor, I want that flavor. So Richard, what I asked Sean before you had to go doggy stuff.
Just everybody knows she's in the backyard.
Awesome.
We got her in her backyard. Our dogs are inside.
Is there a
and
number
she has a collar on
the collar?
She has a collar on, but there's no tag. Okay. So she's definitely had some puppies. So she's not a young dog.
Oh, okay.
And she was just kind of walking up the street, and she just came up to my husband. We put a leash on her, put her in the backyard for the time being. We're going to try and find the owner.
Good.
All right.
So what I had asked Sean was we went from the started with foods that make you want to retch or whatever to talking about the things you would and wouldn't eat. What are the flavors? I know you really watch what you eat. I know you're really big on that, but there have to be flavors, elements that attract you to certain foods. So like Sean and I talked about, I tend to like very salty or very bitter things. Mm-hmm. What about you? What kind of things attract you there?
Well, any of the starches.
Really?
Okay.
You throw me a potato, a bread, a fried potato, a mashed potato, a potato.
Potatoes are good, yeah.
Just starches. I really love just kind of hearty starch stuff, and I love stuff that has a crunch. So I was the kid that would eat bread crusts from people. Like, oh, you don't want to eat bread crust like that. I was the kid that would eat croutons. I was the kid. I love crunchy bread. I love crunchy things. Mm-hmm. And I guess to a certain extent, salty, crunchy, that kind of stuff more than anything else. I'm also not a huge sweet person, but sweet potatoes don't bother me.
I don't know what's.
I don't like dessert. Dessert doesn't really excite me at all.
Dessert doesn't excite me at all either. But with sweet potatoes, I don't know what it is. It's just and it's not the sweetness. There's something about it that just. Do
you like pancakes?
Yeah, they're okay. I'm not a big pancake person at all.
From the same sweet kind of
Yeah,
sweet.
I'll have them on occasion, but that to me is like wasted. It's just a big bit of fluff I put in my stomach to fill my gut. I'd rather have bacon that has good salt and smoke, and that's me.
That's why you do pancakes with bacon in it and then maple syrup on top.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you like donuts, Todd?
Not particularly. They tend to make really sweet things. I stay away from. If I'm going to do a donut, like if Shell goes and gets donuts for the family, she would get me a. Thank you. She's in the room, by the way. An apple fritter. And Richard waved to you, honey. She waved back. There you go. And Sean's waving too. Everybody wave.
Hey, it's the wave. Let's do the wave.
But apple fritters and things like that. Because the funny thing is, Richard, it. Like what you're talking about, the texture, the crunch, it has, you bite into it and you bite in, and then it has the fruit element, and I like that. A regular donut, it just makes me want to vomit. It's
the crunch aspect of it. I mean, one of my favorite donuts when I eat donuts, which is rare, is like the sour cream ones where they're really crunchy on the food. It's almost like fried dough.
Hard frosting on the outside of it too.
Yeah. That's the part that I like. I like those.
Sour cream.
It's not really it's not really the sweetness. It's just that crunch. I love that.
So I can't remember which one it is, Ben or Jerry, but one of Ben or Jerry, it's just like me. He can't smell. So that's the reason that their ice cream has a bunch of chunky big things in it, because he wants textures in eating things.
Interesting.
So he can't smell. He gets it sweet. He gets it salty. He gets all that stuff. But then you also get bites of crunchy stuff like you like, Todd, in the ice cream, because one of the guys can't smell it. So he likes that mouthfeel stuff too.
I don't eat ice cream very often because it has that dairy to me. Like it's creamy and dairy and sweet and all that stuff. But when I do like it chunky. I do if I'm going to have it, I like to have something crunchy or
like
something.
Things in it.
Things in it. Yeah, exactly.
A Rocky Road, a cookies and cream or something.
So, Todd, did you eat a lot of cereal? Or did you just eat like Cheerios? Like, did you have like Rice Chex? Is that kind of stuff okay? But not like.
I loved Wheat Chex when I was a kid. I would eat the crap out of that. But that had crunch to it, and I liked Rice Krispies when I was a kid until you start, watching Bugs Bunny, and you don't attend to your cereal right away, and basically you're just putting mush in your mouth, and I can't do that. Texture is pretty big for me, and it's one thing, where Shelley and I are very similar. We both like the flavor of coconut. Neither one of us can stand to actually eat real coconut.
Coconut is nasty. Coconut is nasty. Coconut. Oh, I can't stand it. Get rid of coconut.
Shredded coconut, just
Richard dislikes coconut too, honey.
It's a texture thing. It really is the texture of coconut. It's just not normal.
I mean, I can eat things that have that flavor.
Flavor's fine.
I don't drink a lot of pina coladas, but that being in there, fine. That's a nice taste that complements what's going on. You bring it out and give me a chunk of it. Oh, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to gnaw on it for 6 years because it's like I can't form any saliva to break it down and swallow it.
It's like when it's in cookies, and I'm like, who fucking shredded a jacket and put it in my cookie mix?
You're talking about milks and stuff like that. I can't. And this is one thing I don't like. I don't like milks that aren't not milk. So I'm a milk drinker. I know you guys aren't big on dairy, but I can just sit there and have a gallon of milk and just.
But almond milk is not something.
So 2 decades ago, when I was living in Oklahoma, JJ's mother came to stay with us for a weekend, and she at that time was drinking almond milk. And so JJ wasn't drinking almond milk. I wasn't drinking. JJ's stepdad was drinking it. So we got it for them. And so she thought she was going to be sneaky because I can't smell anything and pour me a glass of almond milk. And I won't know because, I can't smell. So I'm drinking it and I set it down. I'm looking at it. First of all, the color's off because it doesn't look like actual milk. It looks a little yellow, like it's got glue in it or something. Elmer's glue. And so then I drink another drink and I go, is this milk gone bad? Can somebody smell this for me? It tastes like it's got charcoal in it. And she looks over at me and goes, how could you do that? How could you tell the difference? And I go, because this tastes like ass. What is it? She goes, it's almond milk. I go, that's why. It's garbage. Get this away from me. Give me milk. Show me the teat on the almond, and then I'll drink it.
So do we have to refrigerate milk? Does milk have to be refrigerated?
There is a certain type of milk that actually does not have to be refrigerated, that is shelf stable for, I want to say, a year.
Ew.
My
But,
husband
yeah, for the
said
most
when he
part-
was in Germany, they just kept the milk in the cabinet.